Have you ever been in the middle of a conversation, feeling confident and fluent, only to suddenly hit a mental roadblock? You know the word exists. You've used it before. But in that moment, it's like your brain has decided to take a vacation. You pause, scramble for alternatives, and maybe even feel a wave of frustration or embarrassment. It's not just about forgetting a word, it's about that sinking feeling of, do I even know this language? But here's the good news, you're not alone. And it's not a reflection of your skills. Forgetting words happens to everyone, even native speakers. The key is understanding why it happens and learning how to work with your brain, not against it. Let's dive into the reasons behind this common struggle and how you can turn it into a stepping stone for growth. Hey everyone, welcome back to Fluent English Pod, where we help you train your mind to think in English and speak fluently. I'm Dave with our co-host Emma.
Hey, we're so glad you're here. Whether you're listening on your way to work, while making dinner, or just winding down for the day, thanks for spending this time with us.
Whether you are a new listener or a long-time one, we welcome you to our English podcast. Let's hear our today's topic.
So today we're talking about 5 reasons why you forget English words when speaking. And don't worry, we'll also share some tips to help you overcome this. Our brains love stories and emotions. If you're just repeating words like a robot, they're not going to stick. Let's say you're learning the word umbrella. Instead of just saying umbrella over and over, think about the last time you used one.
Oh, I've got a good one. I was walking to work, and out of nowhere, it started pouring rain. I opened my umbrella just in time, and it was like my little shield against the storm. I even remember the sound of the rain hitting it. Pitter-patter, pitter-patter.
That's a perfect way to put it. Now, every time you think of the word umbrella, you're not just thinking of the object, you're remembering that moment, the sound, the feeling of relief.
Exactly. And that's the magic of connecting words to emotions and stories. It's not just about memorizing, it's about creating an experience around the word.
Exactly. And here's the thing. Our brains are wired to remember stories and emotions way better than random facts. Think about it. Do you remember what you had for lunch 2 weeks ago? Probably not. But do you remember the time you spilled coffee all over your shirt before a big meeting?
Oh, I remember that way too well. I was so embarrassed.
Exactly. That's because emotions make memories stick. And the same goes for learning words. If you can attach a feeling or a story to a word, it's going to stay with you much longer.
That's such a game changer. So instead of just repeating giraffe over and over, I could think about the time I saw one at the zoo and how amazed I was by how tall it was.
Yes, or even better, imagine yourself feeding a giraffe. Picture its long neck, the way it gently takes the food from your hand, and how you felt in that moment.
That's so cool. It's like you're not just learning a word, you're creating a little movie in your mind.
And the more vivid the movie, the better. For example, if you're learning the word campfire, don't just think of the word. Imagine the crackling sound, the smell of the smoke, the warmth on your face, and maybe even the taste of roasted marshmallows.
Now I'm hungry. But seriously, that's such a powerful way to learn. It's like you're tricking your brain into remembering by making the word part of a bigger experience.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be a real memory either. You can make up a story. Let's say you're learning the word castle. Imagine yourself as a knight walking into a grand castle, the sound of your boots echoing on the stone floor. Maybe there's even a dragon in the dungeon.
Okay, now I want to write a fantasy novel, but seriously, that's such a fun way to learn. It's like you're playing a game instead of studying.
And the more fun you have, the more likely you are to remember. So, the key takeaway here is don't just memorize, immerse. Connect words to stories, emotions, and vivid mental images.
I love that. And honestly, it makes learning so much more enjoyable. Instead of feeling like a chore, it feels like you're creating something.
Absolutely. And the best part is, you don't need to be a storyteller or an artist to do this. Just let your imagination run wild.
All right, I'm sold. From now on, every word I learn is getting its own little story.
That's the spirit. And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about making the words meaningful.
Couldn't agree more. Join with us until we explore tip number 5, which will blow your mind and change your entire English learning journey.
Our second tip is a big one. A lot of learners memorize words from lists or flashcards. but they never actually use them in real-life situations.
That's a great point. It's like learning how to swim by reading a book. You can know all the theory, but if you don't jump in the water, you'll never really learn.
Exactly. For example, let's say you memorize the word spatula, but if you've never actually used it while cooking, it's going to be hard to recall it when you need it.
Ah, that's so true. I remember once I was trying to explain how to make scrambled eggs, and I completely blanked on the word whisk. I ended up saying, that thing you use to mix eggs really fast.
That's a perfect example. And honestly, describing it like that works too. But wouldn't it be easier if the word just came to you naturally?
Absolutely. So, what's the solution?
Start using the words in context. If you're learning cooking vocabulary, go to the kitchen and say what you're doing out loud. I'm grabbing the spatula to flip the pancake.
That way, the word becomes connected to an action, and your brain is more likely to remember it.
Exactly. And here's a pro tip. Try to create a mental image or a mini story with the word. For example, if you're learning the word blender, imagine yourself making a smoothie. Picture the sound it makes, the fruit spinning around. Really immerse yourself in the moment.
Oh, I love that. It's like you're tricking your brain into remembering by making the word part of a bigger experience.
Exactly. And the more vivid the experience, the better. For instance, if you're learning the word apron, don't just say it. Imagine yourself wearing it, maybe even spilling something on it and laughing about it.
That's so true. I've definitely had my fair share of apron disasters.
Same here. And those little moments make the word stick. So, the key takeaway here is don't just memorize, immerse. Use the words in real-life situations and connect them to actions, images, or even emotions.
That's such great advice. And honestly, it makes learning way more fun. Instead of staring at a list, you're actually doing something. Cooking, cleaning, whatever it is.
Exactly. It's about making English a part of your daily life, not just something you study.
I love that. So, to recap, if you want to stop forgetting words, start using them in real-life contexts. Say them out loud, connect them to actions, and create little mental stories around them.
Perfectly said. And remember, it's not about perfection, it's about practice. The more you use the words, the more natural they'll feel.
Couldn't agree more, Emma. Wait till we explore reason number 5, which will blow your mind and change your entire English learning journey.
Exactly, Dave. Right on, let's discuss reason number 3, which is learning words one by one without any context.
Yeah, like memorizing refrigerator without thinking about how you'd actually use it in a sentence.
Instead of just saying refrigerator, try learning it in a full sentence, like I put the milk in the refrigerator, or my refrigerator is making a weird sound since last week.
That way, you're not just learning a random word, you're learning how to use it in real life.
And guess what? That's how native speakers learn too. We don't learn words in isolation. We learn them in phrases and sentences. So, we would like to give a small exercise for our listeners. We want you to comment down 5 new words that you learned today. And here's the cool part. You can also learn from other listeners by checking out their words too. Remember, every expert was once a beginner, and nobody learns in isolation.
That's such a great idea. You can learn new words by building a little community of learners right here in the comments. You're not just learning from us, you're learning from each other. Just like that, we lay the foundation for reason number 4. This one is super important. Reviewing. Yes, you heard it right. A lot of learners forget words because they don't review them enough.
That's a great analogy, Dave. It's like planting a seed but never watering it. If you don't revisit the words you've learned, they're going to fade away.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. How many times have you learned a word, felt like you finally got it, and then a week later it's gone?
Too many times to count. It's so frustrating.
Right? But here's the thing. It's not because you're bad at learning. It's because our brains need repetition to really lock things in.
Exactly. So, what's the solution?
Make reviewing a habit. Use apps, flashcards, or even a notebook to keep track of the words you're learning.
And don't be afraid to look up the same word multiple times. It's totally normal.
Yeah, repetition is key. The more you see a word, the more it sticks.
And here's a pro tip. Try to review words in different ways. For example, if you learned the word delicious, don't just read it. Say it out loud, write it in a sentence, and maybe even use it in a conversation.
Oh, that's such a good point. Variety keeps your brain engaged. It's like cross-training for your vocabulary.
Exactly. And another thing, don't just review words randomly. Group them by themes or categories. For example, if you're learning cooking words, review them all together. That way, your brain starts to see the connections between them.
That's such a smart strategy. It's like building a little web of knowledge in your mind.
Right. And don't forget to revisit old words while learning new ones. It's like tending to your garden. You've got to water all the plants, not just the new ones.
I love that analogy. So, to recap, reviewing is just as important as learning. Use tools like apps or flashcards, review in different ways, and don't be afraid to repeat.
And remember, it's not about cramming, it's about consistency. Even 5 minutes a day can make a huge difference over time.
Absolutely. So, listeners, take this as your sign to start a review routine. And don't forget to share your 5 new words in the comments. Let's learn from each other.
All right, we've made it to our 5th and final reason why you forget English words when speaking. We know that our listeners spend a ridiculous amount of time on social media. So, this one will be a game changer.
Oh, I think I know where this is going. Are we about to turn scrolling time into learning time?
You bet we are. Here's the thing. One of the biggest reasons people forget words is because they don't have a community to practice with. Learning a language can feel lonely if you're doing it all by yourself.
That's so true. I mean, think about it. When you're learning something new, it's always easier and more fun when you have people to share it with.
And here's the solution. Join groups dedicated to language learners and follow English influencers.
Wait, let me get this straight. You're telling me I can improve my English and keep up with my social media habit at the same time?
Yes, it's like turning your screen time into a supercharged learning experience. There are so many amazing communities out there. Facebook groups, Reddit threads, Discord servers, all filled with people who are learning just like you.
That's awesome. And following English influencers is such a smart move. You get to learn slang, idioms, and even cultural nuances while watching fun, engaging content.
Exactly. Imagine following a travel vlogger who teaches you phrases like off the beaten path, or a foodie who explains what mouth-watering really means. It's learning in context, and it's way more fun than staring at a textbook.
Plus, you get to see how native speakers actually use the language in real life. It's like having a front row seat to authentic English.
And here's the best part. When you join these groups or follow these influencers, you're not just passively consuming content. You can actively participate, comment on posts, ask questions, and even chat with other learners.
That's such a great way to practice. I mean, how many times have you wanted to say something in English but didn't have anyone to talk to?
Exactly. These communities give you that opportunity. You can post a question like, "Hey, what's the difference between affect and effect?" and get answers from people all over the world.
And let's not forget the motivation factor. When you see other people making progress, it inspires you to keep going too.
Absolutely. It's like having a cheer squad for your English journey.
So, to recap, if you're spending hours on social media, why not make it work for you? Join language learning groups, follow English influencers, and turn your scrolling into a learning adventure.
And remember, language is all about connection. The more you engage with others, the more natural your English will become.
All right, listeners, it's time to take action. Find a group, hit follow on some English influencers, and start turning your screen time into learning time.
And don't forget to let us know in the comments, what's your favorite English learning group or influencer? We'd love to hear your recommendations.
Until next time, keep practicing, stay connected, and don't let those forgotten words get you down.
So, there you have it. 5 reasons why you forget English words when speaking, and some tips to help you remember them better. And if you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe for more tips and tricks to improve your English.
We are so proud of our listeners, and their effort is always appreciated. Keep practicing, guys.